Hello everybody. Today we are going to talk about the uses of public key crypto. So mainly public key crypto system is used for confidentiality and integrity. So remember one thing, confidentiality came from those encryption part. So if we encrypt some message, that means that message became confident. And integrity means it shouldn't be modifiable. Okay, so if someone just in the middle someone receive your message and makes a modification and send it to the receiver, so that receiver don't know actually there is an alternation in the message, so we have to keep that part, so that is actually called integrity. And there is another word that is called non-repudiation. That means you cannot say that you didn't do that or you didn't send it. Okay, that is actually non-repudiation. Also, we use in authentication purpose. We will see that in later chapter. But basically, we are focusing on confidentiality and integrity. So, if you sign something with your private key, that means only you can do that. So, if later you cannot refuse that you didn't do that or you didn't send the message, because the message have your private key. That means you you have sent that message. So that is actually non-repudiation. So let's see this example. Like Alice, he orders 100 share from his stock from Bob. So Alice actually told Bob, okay, buy or send a message, buy 100 share. And what Alice did, Alice actually sent his Mac. We see their Mac using his symmetric key. But the next day the stock drops and Alice claimed that he didn't order. Okay, so now can Bob prove that Alice placed the order? So what Alice did, Alice computes his MAC using a symmetric key and send it with the message to Bob. Okay, but that symmetric key, this symmetric key actually known. This symmetric key is also known to Bob. So that means Bob might do that thing. Okay. So Bob knows that Alice placed an order, but he can't prove it. Okay. So this is non-repudiation. Okay. So he cannot. So Alice can deny that I didn't send him the message, although she actually sent the message. But Bob have nothing. Bob cannot actually prove that message because Bob also have that symmetric key. Let's think about this one. So the same thing, Alice orders 10 shares. Okay, but Alice signed the order with her private key. So again the share drops and Alice claims she didn't order. Can Bob can prove that Alice placed the order? Yes, of course, because Alice signs order with her private key. Okay, so anyone who have the private key can order, but this private key, the definition of private key is it should be belong to only one person. It can be with a sender or receiver. So as Alice signed the order with her private key, so it actually prove that Alice ordered the shares. Okay, unless it is not stolen, but usually private key is your private, so it shouldn't be, you cannot lose this private key. Okay, but in some cases maybe you might lose your private key, then in that case you have to ask for your another private key, so that is another procedure. But in normal sense, although because of you signed the order with your private key, so it proves that you actually placed the order. Okay. So we'll take a look at some notation. Okay, like if we sign some message with private key, we write like this. So this third bracket means signing. Suppose the message is M, and we sign this message with what? We need some key. So we write that here like Alice. If we sign something with Bob's key, then we can write Bob instead of Alice. Similarly, if we write this second bracket, this curly bracket, this means we are encrypting this message with Bob, that means Bob's key, Bob's public key. So if we write curly bracket M Alice, that means we are encrypt message M with Alice public key. So what we are doing here, it means we are signing the message first and then encrypting. Okay. In this case, we are encrypting the message first and then signing in. Okay. So in both of these are the M. Okay. So you have to just remember this notation, like I'm saying again, if we have third bracket something, that means it is a signing operation with Alice private key, and if you have second bracket M Alice, it means encrypt message encryption operation with Alice public key. So the thing is now, mm, in our we need to build a system where we need both confidentiality and integrity or non-repudiation. Okay, so does public key crypto system can achieve both? Okay, so how Alice can send message to Bob? He can first sign it and then encrypt with Bob's public key, or he can encrypt the message with Bob private key first, public key first, and then sign it. So which method seems alright? Sign and encrypt, or encrypt or and sign? Let's see. Or this order possibly matter. Okay. So let's take a look in this example. Like this is like a story. Like Alice loves Bob, but Bob actually don't like Alice. So what is happening here? Alice sent this message, I love you. She actually signed that message first and encrypt with Bob's public key and send it to Bob. Right. What Bob did, because he used his private key, okay, and took out the message from Alice, the signed message, and put Charlie's public key here and send it to Charlie. Okay, so Bob, he actually decrypted that message because this is encrypted with Bob's public key, so Bob can easily decrypt that message and obtain the signed message from Alice and re-encrypt it with Charlie's public key. So public key actually known to everybody, okay, and send it to Charlie. So what Charlie think? Okay, this message is signed by Alice, so actually Alice sent this message to Charlie. But actually Alice didn't send this message to Charlie. Alice sent this message to Bob, But Bob, what he did, he just decrypt it and re-encrypt it with Charlie's message. Okay. So what is the problem? So the problem is, although uh, it seems like, or Charlie thinks that Alice is in love with him. Okay, but that is actually not the case. So what actually happened? What was the problem? Because this is the problem. Because you sign it first and encrypt it with Bob's public key, so that Bob can do that thing. So what Alice thinks, okay, don't do signing and encrypt again. Let's do the encryption first and then signing. But we have nothing to do because this is public key phenomena. So this is how actually public key works. Okay. Let's think about this one, this story. Like suppose everything is solved. Okay. Like Alice and Bob, they don't have any problem right now. So Alice, like he is doing some research on some theory and she wants to communicate with Bob. Okay. But the Charlie, he is still angry with Alice and Bob. Okay. So he set himself as a man in the middle and tried to intercept the message from Alice and Bob. Okay. So Charlie knows that Alice is working on some theory and she will send some message, some important message to Bob, some encrypted message. Okay. So that's why he uh, try to get those messages, okay, as a man in the middle. So what will happen? Alice is now encrypting this message first and then sign it and send it to Bob. But the thing is, Charlie is in the middle, right? So Charlie actually received this message. Okay. So what will he do? He will decrypt the message. Okay. And he knows the encrypted message which is sent to the Bob. Okay. Because Alice sign it with her private key and Charlie knows the public key of Alice. So with that he can easily uh, break the signing and get the encrypted message. Okay. So what will he do? He will use his private key to sign this message and send it to Bob. Okay. So what will Bob think? Bob will think, okay, this message actually came from Charlie, not from Alice. Okay, then he may that he give promotion to Charlie. Okay, because he uh, have some great idea and created this theory. So Charlie actually gets some promotion. Okay. So the problem is here because Alice encrypt the message first and then sign it and send it to Bob, but in the middle Charlie can intercept and he can uh, sign that message and send it to Bob. Okay, but remember one thing, he cannot actually decrypt it because only Bob can decrypt it because this is Bob's private key. Because Bob have the private key, so Bob can only decrypt that message. But what Charlie did, he knows that Alice will send him something important, some theory, so he just changed the signing. So what is the problem here? Okay. So in the sign and encrypt technique and encrypt and sign technique, both are uh, the recipient actually doesn't know or doesn't understand how this public key crypto system works. Okay, there are some limitation. Okay, there can be some limitation, uh, because they actually need to verify the signature, encrypt the message, decrypt the message. So we actually need some third party to do that. Okay, so we'll see that in next segment.